Fallout 76 is now less than 4 months away from release, and while I'm still curious and intrigued about this spin-off project, I feel like Bethesda hasn't done much to mitigate some of the pessimism surrounding this game. For my part, it's not that the prospect of a multiplayer Fallout game never crossed my mind, nor am I saying that this different approach to Fallout doesn't have the potential to be fun. It's just that there are aspects of Fallout 76's execution that, on paper, leave a lot to be desired. Speaking for myself, my biggest qualm with this game actually has less to do with the fact that it's online only, or that it places a focus on multiplayer. Rather, for me, it has more to do with how the game seems to get rid of some of the most basic elements that comprise an RPG. Most worrisome of all is the complete lack of NPCs in the game, something that you may recall Todd Howard enthusiastically confirmed during Bethesda's E3 2018 press conference.
But there is one big difference with this game. It's that each of those characters is a real person.
He further reaffirmed this during a follow-up interview with Jeff Keighley during the E3 Coliseum broadcast.
One of the main things that I saw feedback was when we say there are no NPCs. Okay, so that's one of the big differences that we really leaned on, which is every human, every character you see is a real person.
While this is a bold decision for sure, while I can on some level understand the need to emphasize actual players over non-player characters for this kind of game they're going for, I wonder about the ramifications of removing NPCs entirely. There's a reason why NPCs are so essential to role-playing games, or any game with a narrative for that matter. For starters, they contribute to selling the illusion of a world that feels lived in, that it's an actual place in our minds. More importantly, NPCs decorate the world with a much-needed degree of intrigue, whether it be through the way they present themselves, the dialogue that they speak, the stories that they tell, and the quests that they might have players embark on, serving both an artistic and mechanical purpose. Think about what it actually means for a game to not have any NPCs. Towns and settlements will feel desolate. The only dialogue you can expect to have is with other players, and you can certainly say goodbye to traditional, compelling, character-driven quests. Now, it is worth keeping in mind that Todd Howard did say that while there won't be NPCs, we can expect things like robots, terminals, and holotapes to flesh out the story.
But there are still robots and terminals and holotapes. If you see a lot of the quests we do in Fallout 4 that are kind of this found world quest thing, we still do all of that.
Project lead Jeff Gardner also provided further insight by stating the following.
Our quests are given out largely through holotapes, notes, terminals, and the story's very organic. It's the story of the survivors that went out before you the first 25 years after the bombs dropped. So you'll engage in their story. We added a lot of holotapes to this game. You'll hear a lot of audio. You will, of course, be able to, so that the story's actually rich in a way because you'll be able to hear it as you continue to quest along and enjoy the experience in a way we haven't done before.
So basically, it would seem as though you'll be discovering the story through information obtained via text, audio recordings, and whatnot, rather than through character interactions. I don't know about you, but I cannot say I'm terribly enthusiastic about discovering stories in such a way, rather than experiencing them unfold through interactions with fully voiced characters who are anchored to this fictional universe. Also, consider that one major factor this removes is the ability for players to make meaningful choices that will affect the people and world around you. So I find it hard to believe that quests in Fallout 76 will be anywhere near as compelling as what you might find in more traditional single-player RPGs. Hell, even MMOs know to sprinkle the world with NPCs not only for the mechanical purpose of giving players quests or selling items and equipment, but also to give quests a greater degree of context, urgency, and agency through interactive narrative. A holotape that leads you on a breadcrumb trail can't possibly be as compelling as something like a person asking for help culminating into a multi-layered plot, the outcome of which you get to influence. It's also worth keeping in mind that a lack of NPCs also means that Fallout 76 will lack factions, a marquee aspect of the series. If you ask me, discovering what different groups of people of varying and often clashing ideals and methods would resort to in order to survive in a nuclear wasteland, and the role that they play in this ravaged world, has always been one of the most interesting elements of the Fallout series, but All of that will be absent in Fallout 76. See, I'm not entirely against the idea of a Fallout spin-off with multiplayer elements. Again, the prospect of running around a post-apocalyptic wasteland with a friend or two has crossed my mind a few times. But what I had hoped for was more along the lines of a traditional experience with NPCs, quests, factions, and locales that can be played cooperatively. What I didn't expect was that so much focus would be placed on the multiplayer aspect that they would center the entire experience around player characters. I guess the best way to put it is that I imagined a multiplayer campaign rather than a multiplayer mode. Now, it is entirely possible that once I get my hands on the game and experience it for myself and see how it all comes together, my concerns will be washed away. Who's to say that the integration of multiplayer and the way narrative unfolds via robots, holotapes, and terminals won't impress me enough that they will vanquish my doubts. But while information remains vague, I just don't see how completely substituting NPCs can be a good thing no matter how I look at it, particularly when hallmarks like meaningful player choices, individual character stories, and factions are no longer a factor. That's not to say that there won't be those out there who won't care that much for the narrative and characters and will fully enjoy the new gameplay paradigm that Fallout 76 has to offer for the series. For folks like myself who are heavily invested in world building, overarching plots, and character stories, it's a bummer that could be Fallout 76's greatest downfall. These are just one man's thoughts and opinions at least. I'd love to hear what your take is on Fallout 76's lack of NPCs in the comments below. With that, I would like to end this news update. Thank you for tuning in. If you enjoy my content and would like to support this channel directly, consider donating on Patreon. And to be further updated on all things gaming news, reviews, and discussions, stay tuned right here on Young Yeah. I'll see you guys next time. Young out.